Thatcher. I'm the president here at Umpqua Community College, and it's my distinct pleasure to welcome you tonight. This is so marvelous. Are you having a great time? Already learned a lot of new things, met some new people, have some ideas of things you want to try. Well, we're very happy to host the Blue Zones Project here for the first meeting of the community. I think about the mission of our college. Our mission is to transform lives and enrich communities. Doesn't that sound like what Blue Zones is doing? Our missions are very well aligned. They are. And we do it in the same way. We create networks of community partners. We collaborate on things. We learn from what other communities are doing. We look at what the research says, and we get lessons from that. I have every confidence that Blue Zones is indeed going to transform this community and enrich the lives of people in Douglas County. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Thank you for being here tonight. I hope this ends up being a wonderfully productive evening and at the beginning of some great things. So I'll turn it over now to our Blue Zones folks. Thank you very much for being here.
Hey everybody! Welcome, welcome. I'm Juliet Palencios. I'm the engagement lead for Blue Zones Project-Umpqua, and I'll be one of your MCs for the evening.
And I'm Michael Lasher. I'm the superintendent of Douglas ESD. I want to thank all of you for being here. We're going to have a great time tonight. We have some good speakers for us, and who are they?
We have an excellent program for you all tonight. We're going to have Peggy from our statewide funder. We'll have Nick Buettner, one of our original National Geographic explorers to the original Blue Zones areas here for tonight. And lots of great giveaways and entertainment, and a little special secret for you later on tonight. But I think we want to start with just sharing a little about the story of Umpqua. How did we come to be here? Should we bring out anybody to help us do that? All right, he's just my arm candy for tonight, so he doesn't have to talk. All right, let's bring out Lance and Larry. We got Lance, our city manager. We have Larry Rich, our mayor. Let's bring those out and have them, give them a warm welcome. Let's have you guys tell us a little bit of how we came to be here tonight.
Okay, we'll do. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Blue Zones Project Kickoff event. Thanks for being here today, and we appreciate you coming out to support this event with us. I hope you are as excited as we are with our partnership with the Blue Zones Project. Inspired by the world's longest-lived cultures, the Blue Zone Project is a well-being initiative designed to unite our community behind a common goal: transforming environments so there are more ways to make healthy choices easier, more places to walk and bike outdoors, more healthier foods, and more purpose, all of which lead to more years in life for all of us to enjoy. As you know, Roseburg is a great place to live. We are blessed to live in a place with beautiful rivers, mountains, and trees. We are a community made up of friendly people who are willing to help one another when there is a need. We have demonstrated over and over again our ability to rally together and persevere through any challenge. Well, it is also no secret when we compare our healthy outcomes with our fellow citizens throughout the state of Oregon, our community repeatedly ranks near the bottom. So as a result, community leaders have come together to see how we can improve and become an even better place to live, to enhance what's great about Roseburg and the Umpqua Valley, and to also provide an opportunity for us to improve our well-being, happiness, and longevity. Now, I want you to know that this kickoff event was extremely important to the Roseburg City staff and City Council, that we delayed our meeting start time this evening so we could be here to support this event. Normally our meetings start at 7. We agreed to start at 7:30 tonight. The reason I share this with you is I don't want you to be surprised when you see city staff and city council members getting up around 7 so we can be at our council meeting on time this evening. So don't be surprised if you should see that. Once again, I am excited to be a part of the Blue Zones Project, and I hope you are too.
Thank you very much, Larry. I want to to take a minute and talk to you all about how we came to be here with the Blue Zones Project. We got the idea from Klamath Falls. Klamath Falls was the original Blue Zone site in the state of Oregon. And when we were looking around for a project to bring the community together, we thought of the Blue Zones Project. It is a product of Oregon's Healthy Estate Initiative, which that is a part of the Oregon Business Council. So the state of Oregon and the Oregon Business Council is a part of this, as is the Cambia Foundation and local funders. So we have a tremendous amount of backing and a tremendous amount of financial support that has gone into bringing the Blue Zones Project to Umpqua. And I can't tell you how excited I am to see so many people here tonight and so many people involved in our community. And I hope towards the end of the evening that you'll want to become involved too, because there's so much excitement and enthusiasm, not only in Roseburg, but in the other places this is happening, to make Oregon the healthiest state as soon as possible, hopefully by 2020, but if we miss that goal, we're going to be working hard towards it. So I hope you'll join me in making Oregon a more healthy place, starting with the Umpqua Valley.
Hear, hear to what Michael just shared. We still have some more friends out in the lobby that we'd like to now formally invite to come in and join us. And for those of you that are on the end, if you don't mind squeezing in a little bit, we can just kind of move toward the center to provide people some seats here on the end. So it'll just take one moment to just have y'all squeeze in. Squeeze in. If you see seats toward the center, squeeze in. Say hi, rub elbows.
Wonderful.
Good work, guys. Nice.
So thank you all. Thanks for coming tonight. I'm Lance Cawley. I'm the city manager for the city of Roseburg. And I have an opportunity tonight to thank the people and the organizations who have helped fund this program for Roseburg and for the Umpqua Valley. And I do want to stress that this is not just about Roseburg, folks. This is about Douglas County, it's about the Umpqua Valley, and it's about Roseburg. And it's very important to all of us because we can make a difference in our communities. This is not a government-sponsored activity. This is not someone telling you what to do. This is someone asking you to participate, to be a volunteer, to help make this a better place. So I'd like to recognize our state and local funders tonight, the Ford Family Foundation, the Oregon Community Foundation, Mercy Foundation, Douglas ESD, ADAPT, Umpqua Health Alliance, the Cow Creek Band of the Umpqua Tribe of Indians, and our statewide funder, Cambia Health Foundation. Now, in addition to the folks that are providing direct resources to run this project, I also want to thank our friends at Douglas County, the staff and council at the city of Roseburg, and the staff at the Oregon Department of Transportation, because one of the key elements in this program is going to be your built environment. It's going to be your active recreation and your active transportation system. And the county, ODOT, and the city of Roseburg will play a strategic role in making those things better so you can, in fact, live a more active, healthier life. So with that, it's my great pleasure to introduce our next speaker from our statewide funder, Cambia Health Foundation. Peggy McGuire serves as the president and board chair of Cambia Health Foundation. Cambia is a grant-making organization that strategically invests and partners with organizations to advance and transform healthcare to a more personal, focused, equitable, and economically sustainable system. Peggy oversees corporate social responsibility for Cambia Health Solutions, a company committed to changing the way people experience healthcare. Cambia has a 100-year history of commitment to Oregon communities, and in support of this project, Cambia made the largest charitable donation to the health initiative ever in the state of Oregon. So please join me in thanking and welcoming Peggy McGuire.
Thank you for welcoming me to the community, and congratulations. I'm so excited to be here and to see all of you. I loved seeing, all of the enthusiasm and active participation out in the lobby. It's just a really exciting adventure that you're about to embark on. So I want to congratulate you for joining Klamath Falls, the Dalles, and Grants Pass in showing the rest of the state that communities can work together to become stronger and healthier. Our goal in funding this work is that we want Oregon, the place that we love, to be among the healthiest states in the country. And you now carry the mantle, and you will show the rest of us how to do that. The Cambia Health Foundation is the corporate foundation of Cambia Health Solutions. Cambia Health Solutions is a total health solutions company located in Portland, Oregon. We've been around for 100 years. We actually we were founded in the logging camps of the Pacific Northwest up in Tacoma 100 years ago on the simple idea of neighbor helping neighbor in sickness and in health. The origins of our company come from when a group of timber workers pooled together their resources to take care of each other should someone become ill or injured on the job. And that spirit of neighbor helping neighbor and of community is what continues to power us and is what attracted us to this effort. We really are excited to partner with you in this effort. Klamath Falls, your neighbor, became the first Blue Zone community in 2015. And since that time, over 30 Klamath Falls organizations have become Blue Zones Project approved, and nearly 3,000 residents have signed the personal pledge indicating that they will make specific personal changes to live happier and healthier lives. It's really exciting to see what's happened in Klamath Falls. When I look back to what all that they've accomplished in the 3 years' time, almost 3 years, I'm reminded of a Margaret Mead quote, which I'm sure many of you have heard, but it's worth repeating. And the quote is this: "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Yes, woo! And by showing up here tonight and by being invested in your community and in your neighbor, you're showing that you can change the world. What you all will do together in the Umpqua region is you'll improve the health, the happiness, and the longevity of your residents. This can only be done in community, by community, for people that care about each other. And you all are the leaders of this movement. You will empower your community with spirit, voice, pride, and neighborliness. And you all will show a can-do attitude. You'll believe in the success of this initiative. And so together, a movement that will inspire the whole state to see what is possible when we come together and invest in ourselves and in our neighbors. Congratulations. And now I have the real honor of introducing our next speaker, Nick Buettner. Nick is the Community and Corporate Program Director of the Blue Zones Project. Over the last 20 years, Nick has led 17 expeditions over 6 continents around the world. Some of these expeditions were Blue Zones regions, places where the life expectancy and where people live to 100 years old more than anywhere else in the world. And Nick will talk about that work. He joined his brother Dan Buettner with National Geographic and a team of longevity researchers to identify and explore the pockets around the world where people live longer, better lives. And as the program director at the Blue Zones Project, he's responsible for taking these longevity lessons to 42 communities across the United States, including right here in Umpqua. The Blue Zones Project, as you've heard, is a community-wide well-being initiative that positively impacts the health and well-being of over 5 million people around the country. In his keynote address, Nick will use his experience as a member of the Blue Zones expedition team to take you to these longest-lived cultures. And with his firsthand knowledge of these incredible regions and the National Geographic photography, he will inspire us, educate us, and empower us on the subject of longevity, well-being, and community health. Beside all that great resume, he's just a really nice guy. So it's my pleasure to introduce Nick Buettner.
I have to say that last comment was by far my favorite. And also, being from Minnesota, I really appreciate you guys making me feel at home with this weather. That was really nice of you. So what I'd like to do today is take you to the place in the world where people are living the longest life and share with you some of the stories as to how they did it, not only as individuals, but I think more importantly, how they do it as a community. There was something called the Danish Twin Studies. It came out that said that 80% of how long we live, 80% how long you or I, is determined by lifestyle factors in our habits. Only 20% is genetics or healthcare. Well, if those numbers are indeed true, what we at Blue Zones wanted to do is travel the world to see if we could find the places in the world where people are living the longest life. Places where they're reaching middle-age mortality at higher rates than anywhere else in the world. Places where they not only are reaching 100 at higher rates than here in America, but I think more importantly, they're doing it with a fraction of the disease. So they have those healthy lives, right? Our premise was if we could meet up with these communities, if we could kind of have conversations with these centenarians, we could reverse engineer a recipe for longevity. So together with National Geographic, let me see if I can get this thing right. Let's try that again. Oh, you have the power off? Oh, well, look at that. It works. So together with my brother Dan, National Geographic, what we were able to do is find the 5 demographically confirmed places in the world where people are living the longest life. You notice that place in Russia where they're drinking a bottle of vodka a day, a couple packs of heaters, and living to their 185 years old, didn't make it? Well, the reason being is we actually go there with demographers. We went there with epidemiologists that would look at the birth and death records. We went there with doctors and physicians and people from public health that would do physicals on the centenarians. And what they were able to do is help us find the 9 commonalities. These 9 lifestyle traits flew through all the different regions that we traveled. We call them the Power 9. I want to share with you what they are, but before I do you guys mind if I show you my vacation slides? I promise they're way better than my grandmother's. And do not tell my grandmother I said that. We found our first blue zone in Sardinia, Italy. It is kind of off, Sardinia is off kind of the boot. It's a highland region, about 14 villages, 40,000 people, highest rates of male centenarians in the world. It's a place where at 102, they're still riding a bike. It's a place where at 104, they're actively chopping wood, and they can beat somebody 65 years their junior in arm wrestling. The guy over there on the left, my brother Dan. Does anybody here have an older sibling? Anybody? I gotta tell you, it's incredibly disheartening just to watch your older sibling get whooped. But I didn't tease him. I'm a bigger man than that, or so I tell him. So Sardinia is a home of shepherds. these are people that have to move their flocks over rugged terrains. They're not people that are running marathons. They're not doing triathlons. They just move naturally by moving their flocks. Because sometimes they had to be gone for days at a time, they had to come up with a portable food made from unleavened bread made from durum wheat, which is the same wheat you might find in a whole wheat pasta. A cheese made from a grass-fed animal called pecorino, very high in omega-3s. And a homemade wine called caninau. And I have to tell you guys, there's nothing like the bouquet of stinky boots just to give that wine a little more flavor. I was actually in Sardinia a couple months ago, and I was stomping on wine barefooted, and it made me think, would I rather have somebody stomp on my wine without shoes on or with boots? I haven't figured out the answer. So we actually had this wine tested, and it has the highest numbers of those polyphenols, those artery scrubbing antioxidants, as any other wine in the world now. In Sardinia, they had a very healthy relationship with alcohol. What they usually did is they came together over meals and celebrated. It wasn't, oh, you got to eat today, but they came together as friends and family with a little bit of wine in their diet. Plant-based diet, fruits and vegetables they grew in their own home. I still remember this one guy walked outside, he was plucking grapes, popping them into his mouth. That were growing right on the side of their house. Were they vegetarians? No. They ate meat. But the difference is it was that celebratory food. It was that food that they only had maybe 3-4 times a month. Usually they'd get together, usually it was pork. Usually they'd get together after church and sacrifice it, and they'd all have a little bit of it. Usually portion size is about the size of a deck of cards, a lot less than we tend to get at the Hungry Heifer. But I think more important than the exercise, more important than the diets, it was their attitude towards aging that was so important. Here in America, social equity reaches its peak at about the age of 26. The older you get, the less revered you are, right? Nobody wants to listen to you. But over in Sardinia, the older you got, the more revered you were. These people were considered repositories of wisdom for the younger generation. And when you grow older, what happened is your kids would take you and they'd move you back into their homes. They'd surround you by love. But they'd expect you to do more than just move down to Florida. They'd expect you to help take care of the kids. They'd expect you to help make the meals. It's a civilization where well into your hundreds, you're still active parts of society. You have that really strong sense of purpose in your life, whether you're part of the Civil Guard or, in this case, at 102 years old, still cleaning the streets. We found our second blue zone in Okinawa, Japan, the archipelago of Okinawa, and it's here where you find the highest percentage of female centenarians. And these are the longevity all-stars. These are the people that I think we all want to emulate when we grow older. They, number one, have the longest disability-free life expectancy in the world. What I mean by that is they tend to live a long time and just die very quickly at the end. Here in America, I found this really interesting stat. On average, you're going to spend the last 4.5 years of your life sick. The time between when you get sick and die, compression and mortality, is well over 4 years. It's where we spend most of our healthcare dollars. In Okinawa, it's less than a year. They spend their life all the way to the end doing those things that they want to do, spending time with their family, spending time with their kids, biking, tons of other things like that. They live longer than the average American. There's more centenarians, less breast and colon cancer, and less cardiovascular disease. Now the last two categories, about 80% of the people over 60 are going to die from a disease in one of those categories. So why are they having such good luck? Well, for starters, plant-based diet. Fruits and vegetables, some that you know, maybe some that you don't know. Does anybody here know what this radioactive looking cucumber is? Anyone? Bitter melon. It's very rare that somebody is able to answer that. Now we know how smart this community actually is. Exactly. So what they usually do is they'll chop it up, they'll stir fry with tofu. They'll eat it almost every day, but again, the benefit of working with National Geographic is you got a little bit of a budget. And what we found out that this bitter melon has more of those anti-inflammatories as any other vegetable. It's another longevity vegetable. But more important than what they put into their diet, these guys are masters at what they take out of it. I got to tell you guys, if you haven't figured it out already, I'm blessed. I have been able to travel the world, have meals with centenarians all over the world. And in Okinawa, the interesting thing, if you sit down with one of the Okinawan ladies for dinner, what they'll do before they eat is always say the same 3 words. Hara, hachi, bu. Which means I'm only going to eat till I'm 80% full. These guys are controlling their caloric intake, and they have techniques set up to reinforce it, which I think is really interesting. We also know from Framingham research that isolation kills. 20 years ago, the average American had 3 best friends. Right now, that number is down to a friend and a half. And if you can tell me where you get that half a friend, I think it's social media. 2 Twitters equals a Facebook, something like that, I don't know. According to that same study, if you have less than 3 friends, you're defined as lonely, and the impact that that has on your body is about the same as smoking 20 cigarettes a day. Isolation kills you. Now in Okinawa, what they do is they create these things called moais. Young age, about 6 years old, your parents will put you with kids about your same age, and the parents will cultivate those relationships. So when you reach 20, they have the foundation to last a lifetime. Now, the reason I'm showing you this picture, these 5 women have been part of the same moai for 97 years. Their average age is 102. They get together every night, they drink aramori, which is the Okinawan whiskey, they eat the soba noodles, they talk about the day's events, they even argue about who that guy liked best back in 1939. It was me! It was me! But let's see if this works. I was asking this woman, what does it mean? What does this moai mean to you? And what she said is the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is I slide open my front door and I look out to see if my friend's doors are open. And if they're not, I go out and check on them. They're growing old as a community, supporting each other without the need of a long-term care nurse. They have somebody all the way through their life that's helping them. Okinawa also has a strong sense of purpose, embodied in the word ikigai. This guy I met, he was 98 years old, or 100 years old when I met him. What he did every Sunday is teach karate to about 50 people on the beach. He took me down with one hand. Do not tell my brother Dan that I told you that. This guy, he's a 97-year-old spear fisherman. What gets him out of bed every day is to catch food for his extended family. And if you don't think it keeps him in good shape, you're nuts. And Kamada-san, this is Kamada-san. Her ikigai, her purpose in life, is her great-great-great-granddaughter. These 2 women right here, separate in age by 101 and a half years. Now, I got a chance to ask Kamada-san, how does it feel to hold somebody over a century your junior? She looked up and said, it's like leaping into heaven. Leaping into heaven. We found our 3rd blue zone. This one's going to shock you. Here in America, in Loma Linda, California. You fly into LA, you get on the San Bernardino Highway, drive about 80 miles west, you got that fog following you from LA like Pigpen from Charlie Brown. You get off on the Loma Linda exit. I'm not lying. You get off on the Loma Linda exit, and the first two things you see is a Del Taco and a Wiener Hut. You've now found America's blue zone. Well, as it turns out, they're actually the home of the highest percentage of Seventh-day Adventists. These are people that, I think the big thing is they really evangelicize health and their health care in their network, in their community. They celebrate the Sabbath on Saturday versus Sunday. If you look at it, if you look at the Adventists, their life expectancy is a lot more than you have here in America. If you're a female, your life expectancy is about 80 years old. But Adventists live to about their 89. And if you're a man, you're getting over 10 years. So what are these people doing? These people that are living next to Del Taco and the Wiener Hut, what are they doing to gain all this extra years of their life? Is it genetics? No. You go to an Adventist congregation, it's a congregational melting pot. You have people from African American descent, Asian descent, Hispanic, European. It's not that. So what is it? Well, I mentioned earlier how they take holy that Sabbath from sundown Saturday to sundown on Sunday. Doesn't matter where the kid needs to be driven. Doesn't matter what the boss is telling them to do. These guys check out. They'll go to church in the morning. They'll get together with their friends in the afternoon. In the afternoon, every Saturday, taken right from their scriptures, is to do a nature walk with their family. Now, I want to be clear, the nature walk over the years have changed a little bit. But they still get out to spend time with their extended family, to let that stress of the week go and focus on what's important, their family, friends. If you go to an Adventist congregation, you end up seeing another big hit. These aren't people like me when I go to a party. I'm doing shots of tequila and misbehaving. Don't tell these guys I said that. They might have heard. Instead, what they're doing is they're supporting each other in their vegetarian diets. They're supporting each other in their faith. They're not going through things alone. And if you look at the health traits that flow through Loma Linda, they tend to be very positive. It's a home of this guy, Ellsworth Wareham. Now, Ellsworth was 98 when I met him. The guy's a multi-millionaire. But he wanted to build a privacy fence. So he calls up the contractor. Contractor comes over, says, it's going to cost you about $6,000. I'll build that for you. Well, Ellsworth turned around and said the same thing my father would have said. Well, for that price, I'm going to build it myself. And for the next 3 days, you can see Ellsworth shoveling dirt and pounding in stakes, pouring in cement. David McLean, National Geographic photographer, said, I couldn't even keep up with the guy. And 3 days later, perhaps predictably, Ellsworth could be seen in the operating room. He's a surgeon. 97 years old, did multiple open heart surgeries every month. This guy, Ed Rollins, 106-year-old active cowboy. Every morning, the guy did a swim at 6 o'clock every single morning, and then on the weekends, he put on the boards. Kicked up those rooster tails. 106 years old. And Marge Tatan, this is my brother Dan's favorite. I need to apologize, guys, because I didn't get a chance to meet Marge. I haven't met her yet. Marge, 104 years old. What she does is she gets up every morning, eats her oatmeal, nuts, raisins, same breakfast she's had for years. She reads the Bible. Follows it down with what she calls a prune juice shooter. I'll let you guys think about what that is and maybe just push that image out of your mind. That's what I tend to try to do. She'll follow it up with lifting some weights. She'll jump on her exercise bike for 20 minutes every day before she gets in her root beer colored Cadillac DeVille, where she still volunteers for 6 different organizations, including, in her words, not mine, don't get upset with me, the Loma Linda Old Folks Home. 104 years old. Now, I know you guys probably don't know a lot about my brother Dan and I. Dan actually owns 3 Guinness Book of World Records. He bicycled from Alaska to Argentina. It's all downhill. Just look at a map. It ain't that big of a deal. He went from St. Paul to Minneapolis a long way via Siberia, Russia. I can't read a map. And then he went through Africa, which was the first one I joined him on until I got malaria at an inopportune time. We both bicycled on 6 or 7 continents. We've been held up by guerrillas in Central America. We've had a number of diseases, attacked during apartheid in South Africa. But Dan told me 2 things I'll always remember about Marge. He said the most terrifying moment of his life was actually driving shotgun with Marge. And the second thing he said, they're driving down the road one day and they come up to a stop sign, and Marge in her big old Cadillac DeVille kind of slinks on over to Dan and goes, Dan, I kind of feel sexier at 104 than I did at 103. Now think about that. Is that what you imagine 104 feeling like? Is that what it should feel like? So Dan ended up writing these stories up for National Geographic, one of the best-selling National Geographics ever. And I'm not just saying that because I get a quarter every time I say that my brother is a good writer from my mom. Dan really is a wonderful writer if you get a chance. But then we found what we think are the 2 last remaining blue zones, one in the Nicoya Peninsula of Costa Rica and one in a small island off the coast of Turkey in Icaria, Greece. And it was on that last trip where I had my aha moment. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, you guys are going to go, what took you so long? You have to remember I'm from Minnesota. It takes a couple months for that brain to thaw out. It was this. Never once in all of my travels to the Blue Zones did I meet that person at 50 that said, you know what? I'm going to go on that Blue Zone diet so I can live to 100. Never once did I meet somebody at 50 and said, you know what, I'm going to join that health club so I can make it to 100. Longevity wasn't something that anybody pursued. It was something that ensued because of how their environment was set up. So, I mentioned earlier how we found these 9 commonalities that flew through all of the different regions that we traveled. Again, we call them the Power 9. They're simple lifestyle traits when integrated into your life can help you live longer, can help you feel better, and in some ways, it can even help you be happier. So the first one is they move naturally. These are people that walk to school, they walk to their friend's house, they walk to the grocery store, they walk to church. In their homes, they didn't have the conveniences that we have. You know, in Okinawa, they get up and down off the ground. They don't have couches. They get up and down. They get that movement naturally. In Costa Rica, when they make the tortillas, they're grinding the corn by hand. They don't have the food processors. They're not hiring somebody to shovel the walk or to mow the lawn. I met a woman in Costa Rica, Abuela Panchita, at 104. First time I met her, true story. She was mowing her lawn with a machete. I went home and gave my dad a hug and thanked him for not being hard on me when I was a kid. The second column is kind of the right outlook. Guys, I've traveled all over the world, and I can tell you right now, anywhere you go, people have the same worries that you and I have. They worry about their health, they worry about money, and they worry about their kids. The difference is in the Blue Zone communities, they'd have these simple techniques to help reduce the chronic swelling that's tied to most age-related stress and also tied to most age-related diseases. These are simple techniques. Praying, doing that nature walk with your family on the weekend, a little bit of nap every day. There's research that says the benefit of the nap. In Okinawa, they did ancestor veneration, just these simple breaks during the day to help reduce that chronic swelling, to let it go, let that stress go. And the last one is a strong sense of purpose. All right, quiz question number 2. Anybody here know what the 2 most dangerous years of your life are? It's the year that you're born and the year that you retire. You are 30% more likely to die the year that you retire than your last year of work. Now, why is that? Is it because you said, you know what, God, I've been wanting to do that running of the bulls thing for a while. You know what, gosh, hang gliding, that's what I want to do. No. You know, you have that strong sense of purpose. You're raising a family, you're raising your kids, you got that 9-to-5 job, you have that reason to get up in the morning that motivates you to get out of bed and to do things. And sometimes when you retire, you lose that sense of purpose. In the Blue Zone communities, they not only had that sense of purpose, but they could articulate it whether they were 20 or 100. And people that can articulate their sense of purpose, it's tied to 8 years of longevity. The next column is they had a healthy diet. They had a little bit of wine in their diet. Part of it was what I told earlier about the flavonoids, but it was also how they came together socially around that wine, which was a big deal. But again, you know, one of the things I always like to tell, I mean, according to research, 2 glasses of wine is actually okay for you, but it's 2 glasses of wine, and no, you can't save up and have 14 on the weekend. It doesn't work like that. They lived off of a plant-based diet, fruits and vegetables that they grew in their own garden. Now, we did a little bit of research, and what we found out is there was about 90 to 100% plant-based was their diet, 65% carbohydrates, grains, greens, nuts, beans, a magical fruit. They ate meat less than 5 times a month, fish less than 3 times a week was in their diet. They didn't have any cow dairy. It was more from the grass-fed animals. And then water, tea, coffee, and a little bit of wine was their diet. The last thing in this column is the Hari Hachibu, that 80% rule. Do I need to tell anybody here what's happened to our caloric intake in this country over the last 30-some years? It's gone up, right? So this connect, I think, is the foundation that holds everything else up. They focused on their family. As you grow old, you're surrounded by love all the way throughout your life. They tended to stay married. People that are married live longer than people who aren't. It's a lesson my mother's been trying to teach me for the last 40 years. And they invested in their kids. They invested in that future. The second one is they had a strong sense of faith. Now, we at Blue Zones, we are huge fans of faith, and we don't care what your faith is. There was 2 small universities that did a study that said people who go to church and show up at least 4 times a month live 4 to 14 years longer. Now, again, we at Blue Zone, we don't care what your faith is. I'm just telling you what the research says, and that research was done by Duke and Harvard University. And the last one is our friends matter. According to the Framingham study, if you're, what they say is if your 3 best friends are unhappy, are overweight, if your 3 best friends smoke or drink too much, there's a 150% chance that you do as well. That health traits actually flow through a community in the same way a virus does. Now think about that. Are you healthier with that person that likes to cook plant-based meals? Or with that person that likes to sit on the couch and eat way too many chicken wings? You know, our friends do impact our life. Now, but before everybody here starts pulling out their pen and paper or deleting contacts from their phone of their friends, you also have to have those friends that you can pick up the phone when you're having a bad day and call them, and those friends will actually answer and listen to you. It's an important piece as well. So I could keep on going on and on and on and on, but here's the problem. You remember earlier I said in the Blue Zone communities is their environment. Roseburg, I hate to tell you, you're never going to be a Nicoya Peninsula. You're never going to be a Sardinia or Okinawa. So why does it matter here? Well, we right now in America are spending about $110 billion on health clubs, on diets, and on exercise. And I have to tell you, it's great to remind people, hey, you got to eat a little healthier. It's great to say, hey, you know, let's nudge you to move a little bit more. But the problem is if you're trying to develop a chronic health program that are fighting the chronic diseases, the diabetes, the heart disease, the cancers that are killing our kids, these don't work. They don't work. If I got 100 people to come together and say, let's do the Blue Zone diet, within inside of 3 months, 7 of us would drop off, or I'm sorry, 10% would drop off. With inside of 7 months, only 10 will still be doing the diet, and after 2 years, almost nobody. So what you've achieved is short-term success, but long-term failure. Again, if you're trying to develop a chronic health program that are fighting the chronic disease that are killing our kids, these don't work. And you see those same curves when you look at exercise. And if I came up with the Blue Zone pill, just take this pill every day. It's Ponce de Leon pill. You'll live forever. You couldn't get people to take it long enough to impact your health one way or another. So what do? Well, it was about this time when we partnered with ARP and the National Institute on Aging to find people that were fighting chronic diseases and doing it without the Hawthorne effect. And what that Hawthorne effect is usually when the researchers come to town, they'll start doing their research and behaviors will change. And as soon as they leave, everybody would just do what they were doing before, right? So we found 2 that were able to sustain it. One in northern France around childhood obesity, and one in North Karelia, Finland, where back in 1974, they love their meat. It's back where they fry everything in butter, including their butter and cheese. It's a place where in 1974 people were dropping dead, cardiovascular disease, higher rates than anywhere else in the world. Affluent people dropping dead, 54 years old. This guy, Pekka Puska, showed up, and you know what he said? He said individual discipline, that's important. He said personal responsibility, that's important. But did not spend $1 on those 2 things. Instead, what he said is if we can change the environment to make the healthy choice easier, then longevity will just happen. And what he was able to do is reduce coronary mortality in middle-aged men by 80% and sustain it to this day by changing the environment. So when we looked at trying to bring Blue Zones here to America, that's what we focused on. Most of what you do is within a 5-mile radius of where you work and where you live, and if you can optimize that environment to make the healthy choice easier, then longevity just kind of happens for us. What are the things that influence it? Well, you can look at your home. You can look at your personal surroundings. You can go into the community and see, how do I create more friends that help reinforce healthy behaviors, support me, get a little purpose in your lives. To take the program to the places where people work, live, and play, the restaurants. You spend over half of your waking hours at your work. It has a huge impact on your longevity and your life expectancy. And then you look at policies in your community around, are your streets built for people to be able to drive? Or are they also built for people to be able to walk and bike? What's your food policy? Is there healthy food policy in your community? And tobacco policy in your community. They really do impact it a lot, and if you can take those Power 9 principles and layer it on, we can change it. So what we at Blue Zones wanted to do was to see whether or not we could kind of take this and bring it to a community. And I'm, again, from Minnesota, and we put out an RFP. About 70 communities applied. We ended up choosing a small one called Albert Lee, Minnesota. Population about 18,000 people. It's right on the Mississippi River. You know, really beautiful town. But they had the right leadership. They had the right people to come together to really want to do this Blue Zone project. And so we said, sure. Now, what we don't do at Blue Zones, what our job is to come to you and go to your community and say, this is what you're doing wrong. This is what you have to do. Instead, what we do is we come in and listen. What do you want your community to look like? What are the strengths happening in your community? What are the challenges that you're experiencing? You're different from every other community. What are the things that you want? What do you want your community to look like 10 years from now? And we listen. And after about 3-4 months, we had some suggestions. One of the things we knew that is important is a strong downtown. Like here in Roseburg, you guys have a great downtown. how do you bring more people downtown? How do you get those businesses to thrive? So what we came up with is, number one, there's no way to get downtown without walking across a field or busy streets. We created sidewalks. Now it's safe for anybody to walk down there without having to worry about getting ran over by a car. In the downtown area, what they wanted to do was widen Main Street and increase the speed limit, which I got to tell you guys, it's a great thing to do if you want cars buzzing through the middle of town. But if you're trying to create a place where kids can recreate, if you're trying to create a place where you have outdoor cafes, is raising the speed limit in downtown a good idea? Yeah, they drive right on through. So what a guy we work with, a guy named Dan Burton, said, about a half a block away there's a beautiful lake, but there's no great place to recreate, but no way to get around. So what we did is we talked him into shifting some funds and building a walking path. Now people are exercising. They're walking around those paths every day. You're not have to buy somebody a t-shirt or give them a gym membership. People are exercising naturally. And what they're doing is they're going to that downtown and giving their business back to downtown, where afterwards they get coffee, they're eating, they're shopping. It impacted their businesses in the downtown community by about $2 million worth of investment. Created community gardens where people were coming together to say, hey, how do we cook healthy foods? How do we grow it? Creating friends, but also creating better access so that you can grow your own healthy foods. Community gardens. We work with Brian Wansick from the Cornell Food Lab to work with restaurants, not to go in and say, you need to change your way you do business. Instead, how do you tweak it so people can eat a little bit less? I'll give you an example. Anybody here ever go to a restaurant and they give you that basket of bread? You do that? I do. And what you end up doing is you grab and you slather butter on it, you eat a bunch of it. By the time your food comes, you're already full. But we're taught the Clean Plate Club, right? So you're full, you're eating too many calories. What Brian said is, what if the restaurant still served bread, but the customer had to ask for it? Healthy choice, easy choice. The other thing we did is we changed it. The default with the burgers, default with the healthier stuff was a fresh fruit or salad. You could still get fries, you had to ask for it. I've worked in the restaurant business for years, guys. You know the one thing you put on a menu that guarantees nobody's going to order it? I think I heard it. The healthy choice, or the red onions, yes. The healthy choice. Nobody wants a healthy choice. They want something that tastes good. You know, there's really easy ways to be able to create a menu. I don't know if you guys, I had a great experience here about 6 months ago. I went to the Lighthouse. I got to tell you guys, I had no idea. The way they described the food on the menu, you didn't know what it was, and you gave it a try, and you went, wow, hey, this is actually really good. We worked with grocery stores to take the healthy foods, to do tours with kids, so that they could try healthier foods. I was talking to somebody earlier. Be able to put baskets of fresh fruit for the kids. As they went in and went shopping, they could grab an apple as they're going through for free. Did cooking classes to teach people how, nobody likes Brussels sprouts unless you know how to cook them, right? What's the last thing you see in a grocery store? That impulse buy. Is it that healthy choice? So we blue zone the checkout lane. Now the last thing you hear, now what you heard of those kids, instead of, Mom, can I get a candy bar? They're going, Mommy, can I get a banana? I really want one. That impulse buy became that healthier choice. We work with work sites. Here in America, people tend to sit down all the way throughout their day. Just get them up and moving a little bit. Get a little bit of exercise and movement throughout the day. Look at the cafeterias. How do you get people to come together around healthy eating? Better choices in their vending machines. Really try to transform their cafeterias. Or the number one thing, this is really interesting from Gallup, the number one thing that dictates whether or not you want to go to work is whether or not you have a good friend. Raise your hand if you like to go to work and work with that person that you hate. That's what I thought. We worked with schools. This woman, Leslie Lotto from University of North Carolina, she told me something that just blew me away. She said if you go to a school and you have policies in the school if they can eat in the hallways and they can eat in the classroom, if the answer to that question is yes, that school has an 11% higher BMI. Just by that policy. All right, I got to ask this question. Can you guys do me a favor? Raise your hand if you walked to school when you were a kid. Did anybody do that? Walk to school when you were a kid. Now raise your hand if your kids or grandkids walk to school. So why have we engineered that exercise out of our kids' lives? Safety, right? That's one of the things a lot of people say. Well, that's the problem. It's not the solution. What we did is walking school buses. Those kids got dropped off in a safe location. You got volunteers. Does anybody here ever volunteer? Raise your hand if you do, if you give back to your community. Oh, there's a ton. That's awesome. What they do is they'll come and walk with those kids so that they can get across the street safe, so that people are keeping an eye on it. Teachers will do it. But now those kids are getting not only the exercise before the school, but it also impacts bullying because you're also creating those friendships as well that come with walking to school. We got people to sign the personal pledge. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more with you guys in a second, but to look at your kitchen, to look at your homes. How do you change the homes? Number one thing I got out of the Blue Zone was to do a garden with my dad. I spent all summer long gardening with my dad. We created those moais, tried to break down isolation in communities by asking people to come together, walk together once a week for 30 minutes for 10 weeks. Or do a healthy, get together with people you don't know once a week and cook a healthy potluck. Do a healthy potluck. What we found is 60% of these people stayed together every day, stayed together and are new friends. So now they have that other better personal board of directors. We worked with Richard Leiter, whoops, I'm going the wrong way, to do these purpose workshops where for 1 hour, what they do is do an asset analysis of the skills and the strengths that you have, and then afterwards we'll figure out ways of how you deploy those, how you give back to the community in ways that really align with your purpose, with the things that really make you tick. Now, what we found is about 25% of the community participated. Absenteeism in work sites, 21% of the largest work sites participated. Absenteeism dropped by 20%. If you're a business owner, what does that mean for you if your absenteeism is dropping by 20%? More productive, healthy workforce. People were living longer, people were healthier, about 2 million steps in the first year. And city healthcare claims dropped by 40%. Now, what does that mean for a community if your healthcare costs are going down? Due to the success of this program, what we at Blue Zone did is we partnered with a company called ChairCare out of Franklin, Tennessee, to really try to scale it up, to bring in a lot of things that they're a wonderful company. You're going to meet a lot of the people that are working with them over the next couple years. But we went to the Beach Cities community. Everyone's like, oh, well, crying outside, they're already healthy. It's California. But if you really kind of look behind the veil, what you see is traffic. What you're seeing is stress rates that are comparable to Sierra Leone and inner city Detroit. So what we do is we partnered with Gallup to do the Gallup Share Care Index, where we called a bunch of people out of it to really kind of understand where is this community before we went into it, and then we went in afterwards after 5 years and resampled them again. And what we found was obesity rates dropped, more people were exercising, we saw stress levels go down, and that bottom one I think is really important, is more people said my life is better now than it was 5 years ago. Which again I think is a huge number. We're predicting them by 2020 will save the community about $125 million worth of healthcare costs, lost productivity. This one's exciting to me. they were already doing great work with childhood obesity, but between 2010 and 2015, childhood obesity dropped by 55%. By 2016, it's down by 65%, down 65% to 7.8%. Now, what does that mean for a community if the kids are growing up healthier? What does it mean 20, 30 years down the road for the community? The Surgeon General went to town and basically gave us a quote of in an age when poor health seems so intractable, you've taken this community from a place of resignation to a place of hope. These are all things that we're very proud of. But it's also those personal stories that I'd like to just share one with you if you don't mind. This woman is actually from one of our projects in Iowa.
My name is Lynn Stansberry. I have lived in Cedar Rapids all my life. I was born here. And I live in the house that I grew up in. In 2008, we were flooded and we rebuilt our house. At that time, I weighed 278 pounds. Cedar Rapids was going to start the Blue Zones Project. And I was diagnosed with sleep apnea and restless leg syndrome, fibromyalgia, diabetes, and a doctor at Mayo had told me that I was obese. So I decided that the Blue Zone Project was a wonderful thing for me to do because it was getting our city healthy. Thought about it and decided that I wanted to see my grandchildren grow up, graduate, get married, have children. I started going through my cupboards and realizing how many things that we ate that were not healthy. I don't use margarine anymore. I don't eat whole bread. We eat more fruit than probably the average family. I was lucky if I could walk down the block without being tired. Now I can walk a couple of miles. So I have now lost 105 pounds. My husband and I walk and we ride our bikes and we do the meet me at the market in our city. And so it's made us closer. Cody, my grandson, gave me a hug one day. He said, "Grandma, this is the first time I have ever gotten my arms all the way around you." And it just brought tears to my eyes, and I still, when I think about it, it still brings tears to my eyes. My name is Lynn Stansberry. I live in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And because of the Blue Zones Project, I'm going to live a longer, happier life.
I had no idea that that video was being developed. It was developed by a college student in Cedar Falls. We're right now in 42 communities. Peggy mentioned it earlier, including not only can we start in Minnesota, work with the state of Iowa, working with Fort Worth, Texas, probably one of our largest ones. It's my job to tell Fort Worth that they can't eat meat. Does anybody want my job? We don't do that. I'm teasing you. They also make me go to Hawaii. That's what I was looking for, that sympathy. But I think as Peggy mentioned earlier, one of the things that we're really excited about is our partnership with the Cambia Health Foundation, with the Oregon Healthy Estate Initiative. We are working in 4 communities now in Oregon, starting with Klamath Falls, where we've been for about 1.5 to 2 years. You guys are the second community, and we're also launching Grants Pass in the Dalles. And what's exciting about me is all of a sudden we're bringing everybody together kind of around this mission. In closing, I don't think I have to tell anybody here that we have a healthcare crisis in America, and I'm not trying to preach. If current trends continue, over 70% of the people in your community are going to be overweight or obese. Over 70%. We spend trillions of dollars on diseases that are preventable, the diabetes, the cancer. For the first time in history, and this one scares me a lot, for the first time in history, life expectancy of our kids is less of that of our own. Now, why is that? Is it because we're crappy parents? Is it because our parents loved us more than we love our kids? No. It's because our environment has changed. You can't these days fill up a tank of gas or walk down the street or turn on the TV or social media without being bombarded by unhealthy messages. And our environment has changed. Now, you make over 250 decisions every day tied to your health, and most of them are involuntary. An individual responsibility is important, and discipline is important, but discipline is a muscle, and muscle fatigue, and eventually you break down when you do that act. The answer doesn't lie in Washington. The answer doesn't lie with large pharmaceuticals. The answers lie with the people in this room, with you as a community that comes together and looks at evidence-based practices. You're looking at people that are growing old in ways that you emulate, and then take those evidence-based practices and put them into your life so that you can wake up one day, look at that person lying next to you in bed and say, you know what, I kind of feel sexier at 104 than I did at 103. So a lot of people, what I want to end on is what can you do? What can the people in this room do with Blue Zone Project that we're launching here? In your bags, if you guys just take a second, there's what's called a personal pledge. If you guys just don't mind pulling that out, taking a second, pulling that out. And why they do that is it possible for me to get our leadership and steering committee teams out here? These are the people that have brought this to your community. These are the people that have are really directing this community-led initiative. Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. This is great. So, in the personal pledge, there's 4 things that we're asking you to do. This is a contract not between you and Blue Zones or anyone else. This is between you and you. And there's just 4 things that we ask you to do. Number 1, to learn a little bit more about Blue Zones. Whether you go to our website, Blue Zones, or BlueZoneProject.com, maybe read one of Dan's books, just learn a little bit more about how the environment impacts your life. The second thing is to measure. How do you manage what you can't measure? We've developed what's called the Vitality Compass. It literally takes you 3 minutes to go through, and it tells you how long you're going to live, gives you your life expectancy, your healthy life expectancy, but more importantly, it says here's a couple areas you can work on. The third thing is to participate. Now, what you're going to be hearing about at BlueZoneProject.com is a couple different ways that you can participate. You can join those MOIs. You just try to expand your personal network with friends and family through this process that we said we're going to be trying to kind of break down that isolation. Purpose workshops. Richard Leiter does that hour-long one to allow you to do asset analysis. But then afterwards, give you some suggestions on how you can volunteer and give back if you're not already doing some great work. And the last thing is we want to kind of identify what do you guys want in your policy for your community, and through that policy to be able to support it with your legislators. Again, this is a community-led. It's not us telling you what to do. We want you as a community to determine how you want your community to look. And then on the last thing is on the back, there's about 10, 15 different little simple things that you can do. Again, this agreement between you and yourself. Everybody always laughs at that second one, adopt a dog. Why does that tie to your longevity? Well, as that dog goes for a walk, who's he walking? Right? Jeff, I wonder if you don't mind just kind of saying a little bit just around Blue Zone, why you are participating.
So the reason I'm wearing this shirt and the reason I've become involved with the Blue Zones Project is because a lot of people smarter than me have created a roadmap that I think if we follow, and there's a lot of components up there, you don't have to fully engage in every one, but there's enough of them, and if enough of us do these things, it's going to make our community and our individual lives a better place. That's just how I feel.
We just want to say that we're so excited to be part of this community. We're both from Mercy Medical Center, and we're so excited to be part of this healthy movement, and we want to see our community just move forward and be a great place to live and be healthy.
And we'd like to invite each one of you to join us in this exciting opportunity to sign the pledge tonight. Thank you.
So why Blue Zones? For a selfish reason for me, because as superintendent of schools, there are 14,000 kids in Douglas County, 6,100 of them are ours. There are many things. I'm Gabriel Mistral, Chilean poet laureate, said there are many things that we can do without, but to a child, he cannot wait. To the child, his bones are being formed today, his blood is being made, his senses are being developed. To him we cannot say tomorrow. His name is today. This is a project that enables us to make today possible, and that's why I'm involved.
Bienvenidos a todos ustedes. Gracias para venir al proyecto de Live Longer de la zona azul. Yo estoy muy interesada en pertenecer a este grupo porque para tener más energías, vivir mejor, comprar menos medicinas, tener una vida más grande para poder ver a mis nietos y verlos crecer. Welcome. I am involved in the project, the Blue Zone, and I invite you to be part of it so you can have a better energy, live longer, and see your grandchildren. Thanks.
Thank you. Can you guys do me a favor? I was here, can you guys stand up if you were, we were here a couple times doing discovery and site visits. If our team interviewed you and you guys were part of that, could you guys please stand up? Anybody we talked to? Anybody do that? Those people I mentioned earlier that were volunteering or willing to volunteer, would you guys mind standing up? Weren't there some people earlier? I thought so. Please, don't be shy. Do me a favor and stand up if you think that Blue Zones would be a powerful tool in your work sites. Do me a favor and stand up. If you own a work site or if you'd like to see it. Do me a favor if you think Blue Zones can be impactful in our schools and looking at the environment and why we do that. Stand up. Great. And then and if you believe in Blue Zones and you think this is a thing, feel free to stand up. But what I want you to do is take a quick second. Blue Zones is a community-led initiative. It isn't me telling you guys this is what to do. It's how are you guys coming together to use your strengths, to use your assets, and develop a community around health and wellness in the way that you want that community to look. And look around. You're not doing this alone. You're doing this as a community, and that's how we're going to impact the change. That's how we're going to impact the environment. And I'd ask you, if you don't mind, please do fill out that pledge. We're going to be, you can have a seat again, I appreciate it. But you can fill out the pledge. There's going to be baskets coming around. You just rip off that bottom, take the top, and you can put it. There'll be other opportunities if you want to do it, but we'd like you, if you could, to rip it off and do it tonight. And I want to leave you guys with one last video as we're passing those around. And thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Aaron, do we have that video? Ta-da.
I am so excited that the Umpqua area has been chosen by the Blue Zones Project for one of its newest communities. You know, I really believe in the Umpqua Valley and a lot of the strengths that we have here. And I'm really excited that the Blue Zones is going to kind of help us find those strengths and sort of fine-tune them and help them shine.
The Blue Zones Project so totally aligns with what we do. It's a great opportunity to encourage people to make good choices, to move more, to spend more time with their friends, to make better choices about what they're eating and how much exercise they get.
I like the holistic approach of Blue Zones, looking at what we're doing in our lives, in body and mind and spirit.
We're pretty excited that we have staff involved, we have elected officials involved, and we want the community to be involved to make this a better, safer, healthier place to live.
Hello everybody, Blue Zones Project is coming to Roseburg and we're really excited about that opportunity. Here's a chance for us to look at what we are doing in the Roseburg area, see what we can improve on as far as our healthy living lifestyle.
My name is Clayton Contract. I'm 97 years old. This is my wife, Ruth Contract, actually, nicknamed Peggy. She is 96.
They say, why? How come? What are you doing that you live so long and are so active? And I say, there's three things. Of course, I tell them the why. I've exercised, because we're all at the why. Watch my diet. I'm a vegetarian, and I make sure that I rest. Those are the three things that I felt was important. And in your program here, I think it's wonderful because it has really blessed us.
Live longer, better, Umpqua.
Discover how you can get involved in transforming our community into a place where healthy choices are easy to make, leading to a longer, better life for all of us.
Cannot tell you how proud I am of each and every one of you who has signed the pledge or that will sign the pledge, that will volunteer, that will make a difference in our community. Roseburg is known and the Umpqua Valley is known for people pulling together, for developing community, and here is a wonderful opportunity for us individually and to help our friends and neighbors live longer, live better, and I couldn't be more happy that you're all here tonight. Please fill out your pledges. Please get involved. We're so happy, all of us here, to see that you're with us in this effort. It's going to be a great time.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Get out there, check out those booths, sign up for a Moai, come to our office housewarming coming up on December 19th. Stay in touch, be involved. Let's live longer, better. Thank you, everyone. Have a great